Hello, welcome to Inspire on AGTV. We are reaching you today again from Gastro Restaurant at East Legon here in Accra. Gastro Restaurant is where your most delicious meals are served. Now, we have a man to speak to today, a man described as a big man with a big heart. He received the call of God as a teenager and has served the Lord in active ministry for more than 50 years. I'd like to read to you some of the offices that he held as a minister of Assemblies of God, Ghana. He was Assistant General Superintendent, he was Foreign Missions Director, Coastal District Superintendent, Chairman of Ghana Literature Outlet of Assemblies of God, Ghana, Chairman of the Constitution Review Committee of AG Ghana, Chairman of African Christian Mission, Presbyter for Greater Accra Region Assemblies of God, Sectional Representative, Liaison Officer for Men's Ministries, Women's Ministries, and Assemblies of God Campus Ministries, National Sunday School Director, Vice Chairman of the Charismatic Ministries Fellowship, Chairman of the Bible Society of Ghana, Member of Africa Area Board of the Bible Society of Africa, AFAB Kenya, Chairman of Membership Issues Committee, Ghana Pentecostal Council GPC, Board Member of Parents Experimental School, Board Member of All Nations University in Cambodia, Board Chairman of Assemblies of God Relief and Development Services, AGRETS, now known as AG Care in Ghana, and a Director for the Child and Word Foundation, Holland, and of course Ghana Liaison Officer, Mike Smalley, World Reach, USA. So many things he's done for God in different capacities. Reverend Dr. Harry Stein in Seidu is our guest today. Daddy, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Inspire.
Thank you.
You have done a lot in your life. And I see these offices you held as a way of obeying the call of God on you. What does it mean to obey God?
You know, I got saved in 1950. And not quite long. I think at the age of 15.
74 years ago.
Yes, God called me into the ministry. And I had no idea what God's plan was for my life, except that I saw the hand of God. In fact, I even ended up, my first pastoral work was with Aladura. I wear gown. I had red band
around your waist.
On your waist,
you had a big bell.
No, not bell. We didn't have a bell, but and
you were barefoot.
I always walk barefoot.
The Florida water. This is the Florida water.
Those churches will never miss Florida water, and then holy water.
Wow.
Every prophet has to have holy water and Florida water with you.
So that's today's version of Sobolo.
Yeah.
And Coco.
Yeah. And so I was walking down the street and I saw a bookshop. I saw a church, Evangel Church.
Evangel Assemblies of God.
Yes, Evangel Church. And I saw a man, and I went to him and I started talking to him. And I discovered that those days, Evangel had a Christian bookshop on the church premises. So I went and sat with him. And when he was talking to me, he realized that I was saved, but I was a lost
soul.
Lost soul in the field.
Saved but lost.
So this man didn't condemn me. In fact, he sat with me for almost 2 hours and began to explain the church, the importance of walking with God, and so forth. So he became my friend. And I will always go there and then have a talk with him. Still doing my prophet work. And then sometimes I'll even go by wearing my white gown and then the red band. But somehow, his name was Brother Mejuro. He did not condemn me. He was very patient with me, very kind. And then he kept on throwing it little by little. Why don't you visit our church? Why don't you visit our church? So one day I decided to go to Evangel Church, and when I entered, I've never seen it before, because in the spiritual church we will have to be calling the holy names of God, angels. There, for the first time, I heard the simplicity of prayer. Everybody around me, some were crying, they've lifted up their hands. I've never seen such before. And I was listening to their prayer. Oh, and the words they were using were like somebody having a personal relationship with another person. And so I said, okay. So I started visiting Evangel secretly. And then one day I went there and I said to Brother Amejuro, can I come to visit your church? And he invited me. It was Wednesday night. I went there, and the Bible studies, I had never heard it in my life. And I made a decision to stay.
Wow. Wow.
My prophet was angry. His anger was that I was going to take the secret of the church
to the place you went to.
I went to.
But what was the secret today?
There was nothing there, because we were using 6 and 7 book of Moses. We were using all these things. And I went to Evangel Church, and I realized that everything I was carrying, well, hello. There was nothing so special that anybody in that church was interested in. And I made that decision to serve God. This was 1969 that I joined Assemblies of God.
Wow. So I asked you a question about what it means to obey God. I'm asking this because of the many things you have done in your life as a minister of God, and I see them as one obeying the call in a very peculiar way, because you actually occupied so many positions, both in Assemblies of God and beyond.
I think that the main reason was that in those days, we had that strong desire to please God. That was the number one. Number two, we loved God. We felt we owe everything to God. And so, I think when I made myself available to God, those days I didn't understand what I was doing. But I so much loved the Lord that I wanted to do anything to please God. And so God also had mercy upon us. And then he started leading us into so many unusual experiences. I mean, if I'm going to share so many of the experiences with you, like how I ended up pastoring the church at Akemoda, starting the church at Akemoda.
So we'll come to your pastoral work,
yes,
proper, as a minister, the churches you pastored and all that. But I want to go back to the issue of obedience and the results that it brings to one's life and those who follow. For instance, so I have noticed that, we all know that in this organization, you have raised, maybe arguably you are the pastor who has raised many more pastors than any pastor. And they have become very prominent in the ministry. The late Reverend Donton was a general superintendent, was your pastor, was your church member. We can talk about the current ones. I think Reverend Atubente was one of them.
Yeah.
Reverend Basi was one of them.
Reverend Chirakun.
Reverend Chirakun was one of them. Reverend Ajay, Ringwood Gospel Center, was one of them. My own pastor, Archibald Sam, one of them. All these pastors and the work they are doing, the pastors they have also raised, can all be traced to the obedience of one man. When one disobeys God, what has he done?
I think that is the flip side. if I had disobeyed God,
what would have happened?
all these men wouldn't have been in positions that they are. You see, and if you look at all
They
of
may
them,
not
they
even
are,
have been born again. Some of them.
yes. If you look at most of them, their background, where they came from, you see, and we always refer to ourselves as people from Bumbuashi and Fadama. I mean, the lowest of the lowest, you see. And so I see that because I was obedient to God, and I was obedient because I love the Lord. When you come from those churches, one good thing about those churches was that we were taught sacrifice. You want to do everything for God, even though we were doing it blindly.
Yeah. Is it blindly?
Yes.
Why blindly? Because
we didn't understand what we were doing. We just knew that we were serving God, but I knew Jesus was living in my heart, but I didn't have the daily experience with Him in Aladura and all those places. But coming to AG, experiencing the favor of God, you carry that enthusiasm from that church, and then you carry the same enthusiasm into the work of God. And so, doing things for God, I even didn't see it as sacrifice. It is later that people talking to you will mention, oh, you were sacrificing, you were obedient. But to me at that time,
you were doing what you had to do as a child of God.
What I had to do as a child of God. I just didn't have, I wasn't looking for reward. I wasn't looking for recognition. I just wanted to obey the Lord. So, and I think because of that commitment, right from the beginning, God began to use me. I remember very well, for instance, those days, you were not receiving much. My salary as a worker was 13 cedis. But I used 5 cedis, walk to the Bible house, buy Bible portions. I was writing letters. Those days, they have something called airmail. And you write, so I was just writing letters, sending it out, and I was receiving boxes, tons of Bibles, and I would go and stand at circle, just giving away Bibles, giving away Bible portions, just so excited that I was doing something for God. Whether somebody recognized me or not, it was no big deal. I just wanted to do it. And I think before I realized, seniors in the church started recognizing our enthusiasm, our commitment, and they started opening doors for us. And so people, whatever they are doing, they will want you in, because you want to do it, and you were not asking for reward. You were not asking for. So people were happy
to have you around.
To have you around to serve God.
This is Inspire on AGTV. I believe that this story is inspiring you. We'll be back shortly, just to announce to you that this fabric, this attire, was made by KOJ Raiment in Kumasi. Their numbers are on the screen. Can you reach out to them and they will make you look great, just as I'm looking. We'll be back.
Can everyone hear me?
We are here.
Sometimes in life, we find ourselves in a dark place.
For the weak and brokenhearted.
So you have more than one story?
No, I don't.
You have multiple stories?
Objection, my lord.
That is why the Bible says that the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God
is eternal life in Christ Jesus. Who are you?
For every moment you need to be inspired.
You cannot be prayerfully alive, and Satan will get you easy.
I was speaking in tongues and I said, Keaton, get up.
How can you manage a company when you cannot manage your home?
On all the days you need to be lifted up.
You must abandon old mindsets and structures that have held you back.
Vision without action is an omission.
Raise your head high, for AGTV is here.
And mark your forehead with a seal of power.
Fear is a serial killer of dreams.
Shola.
Yes, Ngozi.
I need to hear God myself.
For every man.
You are a criminal.
Does it look like a criminal to you?
Woman and child.
And you know nothing about my husband. You know nothing about my father.
Greetings, my relatives. Today, I want to tell you a story.
To give hope for every race, everywhere. Because we are here. AGTV is here.
All right, welcome back to Inspire on AGTV. This program is also supported by Delta Unique, a total office solutions and supplies company, the business line of office stationery, office equipment, computers, and its accessory, networking and its equipment, software solutions, and support. Kindly reach them via the numbers on the screen, and they will be at your doorstep with all the solutions that you need. Thank you. All right, so let's come back to your ministry. We've seen how the Lord called you from the Aladura Church. You came to join Assemblies of God and all that. You spoke about how God called you into the ministry. Tell us how your ministry life began. What did you do?
You see, as I said, actually when I accepted the Lord and then joined the Aladura Church, not quite long, the pastor, the prophet, realized that I was somebody who had love for God, who was enthusiastic, wanted to do something for God. So in 6 months, I was leading worship, I was leading praises, even though I didn't know what they were. I didn't understand. You learn a lot, the holy names of God. By the time you finish, you could have about 5 names or 50 or 500 names of God at a particular service. And so this was part of us. And I remember I really wanted to know God. So one of the things I did was I decided I was going to wait on God. So I went to the Black Star Square. Those days in 1968, and went to Black Star Square, went into the beach, and I decided I was going to fast for 40 days. And so young, I didn't understand what I was doing. So I wanted to fast 40 days without food and water. So you don't eat, you don't do anything. And I realized I was growing weaker.
After how many days?
I guess after 5 days, you couldn't even speak and so forth. Then there was one man at the beach there called Otumfo. He was also an occultic from the Krishna. He said to me that, no, you can't do the fasting like that. You have to drink a little water. So I went for some days and I was so sick. But during that time, the prayer I was praying every day is that God direct me what to do. I just want to give every part of me. You know, those days we said these things without even understanding what we were saying. we had no idea the price that we were going to pay for this kind of prayer. So I will get on my knees and pray that God, just give us direction. Give me direction. Whatever you want me to do, I will do it. Not quite long, I found my way to Evangel Church. And when I started going to Evangel Church, my prophet was very angry because he felt I was going to reveal their secret to the church. But there was nothing there to reveal because what I saw, I wanted that. And I was leaving behind what I didn't have anyway. So God began to deal with me. And in Evangel Church, at that time, they really speak about going out to evangelize. Mr. Texan will stand there and he will hit hard on evangelism. And so I started distributing tracts at Circle. I mean, if I am not exaggerating, I can say that at that time, I gave out not less than 3 million tracts, Bibles, and Bible portion, like the Gospel of John. And I go to the Bible Society and buy them. And then when you buy those ones, Bible portions were 10 pesos. So if you buy 1 CD, you know that many. Yeah. And you were so excited to do something for God that we go and buy them and then come stand at Circle. Then one night I was sleeping and I saw myself standing before a big crowd, a very big crowd, and I was preaching the gospel, and I felt so compassionate for the people, you see, and I was standing there, and then the word just dropped into my mind, explosion of love, explosion of love. And then I realized that God was speaking to me at that time. So I formed an organization called Love Explosion with some of the young people at Evangel Church. And we started going to mental hospitals, prisons, giving out Bibles. We will go to Mokola, buy used clothing, the leftovers, and they will pack a whole lot and give it to us, let's say 10 cedis. We'll buy it and go to the prisons and give them out. And at the Circle, people were coming to receive tracts.
So this was what you were doing as a youth in a
as
church.
a youth.
Then you became a man of God.
Then I became a man of God.
You went to the Bible school.
I went
Which year were you in the Bible school?
That was 1972.
And you spent 2 years in the Bible school?
Those days it was 3 years.
For a diploma?
Yes.
They came out 75?
Yes.
And then you became a pastor in the Achimda AG
yes,
Church?
Yes.
Were you posted there or you decided?
No. Going to Achimda was a funny story. I was then interpreting for the missionary because only the two of us, myself and another brother called Geoffrey Tomtania, who became the pastor of Calvary Temple in Lomé. The two of us were the only people who could understand the missionary.
Okay. Understand in terms of the language?
Yes, he couldn't speak English very well.
Okay.
I couldn't speak Spanish or this, but because I was constantly with him, I got used to his pronunciations.
Okay.
You see, for instance, he will always say, "We want plenty people." I knew what he was saying, plenty.
He was a Spanish?
Yeah, Portuguese.
He was a Portuguese. Okay.
So I could understand what he was saying. So whenever he uses his words, he must always be with me or with Tom Tania, who spoke French. And the similarity between French and then Portuguese. So he could pick out so many of his words. And so we started helping him at North Kaneshi.
So it was from North Kaneshi you were posted to Achimda?
Yes.
So from Evangel, you joined North Kaneshi?
Yes, we moved
Church.
to North Kaneshi.
So this missionary, his name was?
Pedro Barbosa.
Pedro Barbosa.
Yes.
So he was the one who transferred you to the Achimda church?
Yes. There was no church there. One of the members spoke to him. In fact, that night I had a dream. And in the dream, the Lord told me that I was going to go to Akemoda. And the Lord spoke to my heart. Then we went to the church, and a lady who was from Oda told the missionary that she would like somebody to go to her town and start a church there. So after the church service, the missionary said to me that they would like to send me to Akemoda. I said, okay. I was a bachelor. Then he said, go and pack your things. I said, am I going now? He said, yes. So
there and then?
There and then. So they took me to Oda and then left me at the Oda station.
Left you?
They left me at
in no one's hands?
In no one's hands.
The missionary drove you there?
The missionary drove me in a blue VW Beetle to Akemoda, left me at the station. Left me at the station and gave me 30 cedis.
No, I'm not sure it's today's 30 cedis.
No,
I'm not sure. Well,
no, not today's. That was 1972.
It could be 30 pesos or 3 pesos.
No, it was 30 cedis at that time. That was how I was sent to Akemoda. And so they left me there. And then, fortunately, I had my those days we called them portamento. I had my portamento. I was in my trouser, a white shirt, and somebody from the chief palace, who became one of the elders from the chief palace, was passing by and he asked me, "Are you a visitor to town?" I said, "Yes." Then we engaged in a conversation. Then I said to him that my pastor, I've come here to start a church. What church? I said Assemblies of God. And nobody has heard Assemblies of God
before
in that whole area. So he said, if I can get a taxi. So he took me to the Old Town. At that time, Odan had Old Town and New Town. I don't know if it's still like that. So he took me there and showed me a house. We spoke to the landlady and she said she will charge me 2 cedis, 90 pesos.
A month?
A month for rent. So I paid her 3 months. That very night.
Advance of 3 months?
Yes. And then went into the room. There was no bed. There was nothing. What I did was that I put my portmanteau by the wall. And then I sat on the floor.
And
slept. I was never sorry I did that. There was no regret. I mean, I was so excited. The following day, I plunged myself into evangelism.
House to house.
House to house, sharing the gospel. I had a lot of tree Bibles and things, and I started giving them out. Then, when I came back, the landlady asked me, "So, where are you going to start your church?" So I said, "I'm looking for a place." So there's a shop down there, which was about 5 minutes drive, 5 minutes walk, sorry, from the house. So he showed me it, and I went to see the landlord. The landlord gave me the shop to start the church. And so he was charging me 3 cedis, 20 pesos.
A month?
A month. So I paid 2 months rent. And then started evangelizing. And within a week, I had 3 people. Then I had the greatest challenge in my life. I was an ignorant person. I didn't know. But right from the beginning, God started with, some kind of challenges. The next door neighbor also had a shop. She didn't like the idea that a church was coming next door.
And you went to another shop?
So what she does is that in the evening, by 6:30, she knows our service will start at 7 o'clock. Then she'll bring a coal pot, set it close to the church.
Set the fire.
And then set the fire and put,
Kobe.
in the distance. So by the time the people, the 2 or 3 brothers will come,
the place
was so bad. You couldn't
breathe.
You couldn't breathe. So even though I had a place, most of the services was done in my room. And the 3 of us would go and sit in my room. But God was doing something. You see, when I was living in Accra and I was distributing the Bible, by then they had just introduced the Living Bible. And so I had portions that were dashed to me from the Bible Society. And fortunately for me, those 3 young men who started coming to church came from Aladura. So our discussion was all around, sacrifice. Okay. Because in Aladura we used to do sacrifices. So I gave them the Bible. I didn't know myself. But I gave them the Bible, 3 of the New Testament. They said living letters. And I asked them to go and read the book of Hebrews that deals with sacrifice. And these 3 brothers, one of them joined me in North Kaneshie. In fact, he's blind now. And he began to read the book of Hebrews. That whole night, he read the book of Hebrews. And he wrote he took down so many questions. So the next day when he met with me, he started asking me questions. A blind teacher.
You are describing you as a blind teacher. You were not too experienced at the time.
I wasn't too experienced. But we ended up discussing, and then the Lord somehow opened my eyes, understanding, to understand that Jesus Christ is the eternal sacrifice. And so right there in my living room, the 3 of them made decision
to follow Christ.
To follow Christ.
So the church grew.
We were still 3.
No, but subsequently.
Yes.
You won more souls.
Yes.
In the same venue as at the shop where you started?
No. Because
you moved out.
Yes, we moved out
to another place.
Yes, to another.
So how long did you stay in Achimota?
I was in Achimota for 4 years.
And so how big was the church when you were leaving?
They had grown to 88 people.
88. Yes. And then you were recalled. Were you recalled or you left?
I was recalled. The missionary called me back.
And reassigned you to.
What happened was that he was coming to visit us in Achimota. He didn't tell me he was coming, but at Swedro, he was involved in a serious accident. The accident was so serious that all the kneecaps were broken. So he was rushed to Kolebu, and they removed the kneecaps. And when they removed the kneecaps, he couldn't walk. So the Brazilian church, by then he's been in Ghana for 2 years, the Brazilian church recalled him back. And when they recalled him, he invited me and said, look, you have to leave Achimota and come and take care of this church, but there was nobody. That's how I ended up
in North Kaneshie. So then who took over the Achimota church?
One of the brothers that I trained.
Is that church still there?
Yes.
What is the name?
They call it Assemblies of God Achimda.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then you came to North Kaneshie.
Yeah.
Which was around 2 years
Yeah.
at the time.
What happened was that before I left, it was in Akimoda that I got married.
Okay.
I married, sent my wife there. And the offering that was given to us
in Accra,
went at our wedding. We used that money to buy the land, 40 cities.
For the Achimda Church?
For the Achimda Church. That's where the church is right now. We bought the land for the church. From that money, we bought 10 benches. We bought electric cables to
wired the wiring
for the old church. And so when we left, they had a land and everything before we left.
Ready to take off.
Yes.
Then you came to North Kaneshie, which had no land.
They had no land.
Were they in a classroom?
They were renting somebody's property.
But then you were able to buy a land for them.
Yeah.
Or you led the church to buy a land.
I was able to lead the church to buy a land.
How big was the church when you came to North Kaneshie?
When I came, North Kaneshie was only 38 people.
So smaller than the Achimda Church?
Far, far smaller than the Achimda
Church.
And the Achimda Church was giving me something better. 7 cities a month. In terms of salary? 7 cities a month. I came to North Kaneshie. They didn't even have anything to give me.
Pay?
No, they didn't have anything.
So did you feel demoted?
Yeah. I don't think so. I loved Akimoda at that time. I loved Akimoda more than Accra.
That's what I'm saying. So having been brought, even the capital of the country, yes, you came to a church much smaller,
yes,
which could not even afford to pay you.
Yes.
That's why I asked whether you felt demoted.
It could be. I wasn't.
Or a bit disappointed.
Not disappointed, but I felt the challenge was greater.
Of course.
Yes.
Yet you stayed.
So I chose to stay.
Well, this missionary had left, so you could have decided to stay.
In fact, as soon as I came down, he was waiting to hand over the service to me. So as soon as I came, the following Friday,
he left.
He flew out because he was so much in pain.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you manage to put North Kaneshie together to raise a church that became so vibrant, that
when I
produced
came to
so
North
many
Kaneshie,
pastors, so many great men and women
when
of God?
I came to North Kaneshie, the place that they were worshiping, we used to worship at a different place. In fact, the next land, and the landlady drove them out because they had built a temporary structure on the land, and the landlady said, "No, I don't want you on this land." So he drove us out. So when we started the new one, they had to use the building materials from the old building to roof the new one with no walls. And then, and when they did it, the first Sunday that I came in, it rained. It rained so bad. And we realized that it was going to be difficult because all the few people that I came and met, most few of them had, Ghana Bibles and tree Bibles. It rained so heavily, and we were in the church, and because of this, the roofs that were used,
it's leaked.
Every place was leaking. So I said to myself that, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to re-roof the building. I'm going to put a wall around the building.
Why were you saying this without money in your pocket?
I said this without money.
So was it by faith?
It was by faith.
And how did it get done? I mean, members contributed?
No, we didn't depend on the members. By then, the full gospel, they used to call Accra chapter. They heard about what was going on at North Kaneshie. See, at that time, I believe what really established the church was the fact that most of my emphasis was on the baptism in the Holy Spirit.
So there was power.
Yes.
And fire.
And fire.
In the church.
And so the full gospel, loved what was going on. And so most of their leaders were coming to all-night prayer meetings, and they had, some of them experienced it when it rained. And so when I said I wanted to do that, we were able to, the first time we did our harvest, we were able to raise 3,499 cedis, which was, I had never seen that money in my life before. 1,000 cedis, that those days, 1,000 cedis, and yet we had 3,499.
That's about 34 million cedis.
And so we were able to remove all the roof
and replace it.
And replace them. Bring electricity into the church. Brought water into the property at that time. And it wasn't a big church, about the size from here to where you are standing. This was how big it was. From the gate to this curtain. And the community started calling it Trainer Soredai.
So by the time you retired, North Kaneshie became a very prominent church.
Yes.
I mean, you were in the thousands.
Yes.
Over 2,000 member church, running multiple services and all that. What did you attribute the success of a ministry in North Kaneshie to?
The key was prayer. But even that, it happened by accident. 1979, it was 79 when Rollins had his first school. There was a curfew imposed on the whole nation. People were not supposed to
be out after 5 or 6 p.m.
Yes, until 6 a.m. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And we went without service for about 3 weeks. Then I came to church and announced to the congregation, we only have one service, Sunday morning. I said, listen, every Friday I'll be coming to the church here to pray. By then, the number had dwindled from 38 to about 27. I said, okay, I'll be coming every Friday to pray. And anyone who is interested can join me. So the first Friday, people came, but only my wife and I were the praying people. Most of them couldn't pray throughout the night. Only the two of us stayed. But some of them would doze off and would wake up a little bit, join us and go back to sleep. But we're excited. Then all of a sudden we noticed that the number that was staying with us
was
increasing. Then somehow they started, by then in Accra here, there weren't so many. In fact, from the 70s to the 90s, there were only 3 strong churches in Accra. You see the Presbyterian Church at Makola, after Methodist Bookshop. The next is the Presbyterian Church. That one, because so many Christian fellowship were using that place for their programs. Then the second one was, Calvary Baptist Circle. And the third was North Kaneshie. And among them, the most powerful was North Kaneshie. You see, a lot of programs were going on there. And so when we started, people started hearing about the prayer meeting. Men were coming from, this is how we got close to them. People were coming from Full Gospel, Baptist Church, Pentecost, different denominations were coming. The other day I was at Pentecost and I was surprised how many of their senior ministers
had been to North Kaneshie,
had passed through North Kaneshie. And so the church started growing. Everything that happened by accident. And then before we realized, we had grown to about 500 people. And we realized that that building could no longer host us. So at that time, we start service at 7 o'clock, close at 9, 9:30, close at 11:30, then start 12.
So
and close
you can
2.
trace the success to the prayer that you started.
Yes.
It means that prayer plays a lot of role in the growth of the ministry.
Of the church.
We'll be back after this break. You are listening to Inspire on AGTV. Today, our guest is Reverend Dr. Harry Stein in Seidu, the former Assistant General Superintendent of Assemblies of God, Ghana. Please stay tuned.
Can everyone hear me?
We are here.
Sometimes in life, we find ourselves in a dark place.
For the weak and broken-hearted.
So you have more than one story?
No, I don't.
You have multiple stories?
Objection, my lord.
That is why the Bible says that the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. Who are you?
For every moment you need to be inspired.
You cannot be prayerfully alive, and Satan will get you easy.
I was speaking in tongues and I said, Keaton, get up.
How can you manage a company when you cannot manage your home?
On all the days you need to be lifted up.
You must abandon old mindsets and structures that have held you back.
Vision without action is an omission.
Raise your head high, for AGTV is here.
I mark your forehead with a seal of power.
Fear is a serial killer of dreams.
Shola,
Yes, Ngozi.
I need to hear God myself.
For every man,
You are a criminal.
Does it look like a criminal to you?
woman and child.
And you know nothing about my husband. You know nothing about my father.
Greetings, my relatives. Today, I want to tell you a story.
To give hope for every race everywhere, because we are here. AGTV is here.
Well, if you love the way I'm looking, please watch on the screen. The numbers are there. You see KOJ Raymond right in Kumasi, and they'll reach you wherever you are. Call them right now and get your spectacular designs done for you. Maybe you have a school, you want uniforms for your school, or you have a church, your choir, your mass choir, the Christmas festivities, you want new uniforms. Reach out to KOJ Raymond. They'll sort you out. Welcome back. So then you also got involved in a lot of church planting. How many churches did you plant?
Oh, as for churches, even in Achimota area, I planted more than 15 churches in Achimota area.
Okay.
Across the country, we may go over 150 churches. Some of the churches, we planted them directly. And then we were also involved in sponsoring churches to buy properties. And then we were also sponsoring, in fact, at one point, across the country, we had over 40 pastors.
You were taking care of?
That were receiving their salary every
directly
month
from North Kaneshie.
Church.
They were members of North Kaneshie and they went out
No. Pastors started coming to North Kaneshie.
Pleading for help.
Pleading for help. And so we set up a missions committee. And then as the missions committee began to talk to people, they came to me and said, look, you see, Pastor, some of the pastors, their story is so pathetic. And then I said to them, okay, then let's set up a missions fund. So when we set up the missions fund, most of the committee members, without me even saying anything, made a commitment that every month they'll commit this amount into that account. So it became apparent that we have to help people. And so we were investing in churches like the Jurapa Church. We bought all the materials for them to put up that church building.
Which are some of the churches you planted in Accra? Accra, for instance.
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel at Kwashima?
Yes.
Okay.
Calvary at Kokompe.
Okay.
Ringway.
Gospel Center?
Yes. On Achimota Road, I planted so many churches, and then including Fise, Obakruwa, several churches.
Wow.
Yeah, several
Wonderful.
churches.
But in all these that you did, there were challenges.
Yeah.
There were troubles. I mean, you had issues. I
Yes.
mean, when I say issues, a lot of things were thrown at you, you know, as you know, to more or less in an attempt to win, either to weaken you or whatever, whether from the devil or his agents. Tell us some of the things you went through.
In fact, as for the battles, there were so many. Lies were told about me. One of the young men that I was sponsoring started spreading to people that ladies in the church were complaining that I was taking them behind the church. And excuse me to say, I was fondling with their breasts. And then I realized that the young man even doesn't know what he was talking about, because where he was referring to, that was where the watchman lived.
The watchman's house.
The watchman's house. We have built the watchman's house right behind the church.
So he couldn't have been doing that there.
He lives there with his wife. And several of his family members come down from the north to visit him. So there was not a day that there wasn't more than 5 people
living
there. So I asked him, when I sat with him, I asked him, have you ever gone behind the church
to see what happens there?
What happens there? And he actually, when we confronted him, he denied. He said he's never said that. And the pastors that he told were challenging him that you said it. That was when I cut in and asked him, have you ever gone behind the church to see the place? Mm-hmm. Because the place you were referring to, people are living there. People are living there. The man has 4 children and they are there. His family members are there. His wife is there. At every given time, 24 hours a day, people are there. So how would I be able to do that? He said he never said it. And that was not all.
There were also stories about attempted, or more or less, seductions, attempted seductions on you. I mean, women wanting to, you know, gain your attention, you know, even though you were a married man.
The first one, this lady was literally living with us in the house. She became like a family member. No, she comes to the house, and when she comes, my wife eats with her. They were almost like friends. And it happened that morning, I was supposed to go to the church, but my wife said, no, I couldn't go because she had to go to the market quickly and come back. So we were having a prayer meeting. So I sent word to the brothers that I have to take care of the house. Mama is going to the market to buy certain things and come back. Immediately she left, this lady came in. And then we sat at the living room. And then when we sat there, at first it did not click. I noticed that she was pulling
her cloth.
No, she was wearing a dress. She was pulling the dress. And then she spread her legs. God have mercy. I can't go far.
Please don't go far.
And so, if it was in this day, I would have rebuked her. But that time I didn't know what to do. So I just said that, oh, this place is too warm.
Let's go outside.
Let's go outside. So we went outside and then sat in the house. Barely 5 minutes, my wife came. And I told her what happened. The lady never came back to the church or
to
my house.
Come back. but then we also know that you had other attacks on you in terms of, like, you had a whole house burnt to ashes.
Yes.
Did you have so many challenges? I mean, as a minister of God, did you have a lot of things happening? This happens, that happens.
Yes.
Your house burnt.
One of my most painful experience was when I was the National Sunday School Director, and North Kaneshie had one of the vibrant Sunday School programs in Ghana, because I was so much interested in teachings. And this young man, Kofi Thompson Asare.
Maybe we shouldn't mention his name.
Yeah, no, he's going to be with the Lord. Okay. He was so close to me, very, very close. And he went with me to Sopon, because we were going to see some of the staff to come and teach during the weekend. Sunday school program, teach the Sunday school teachers. On the way, I was driving, and he was the Sunday school superintendent at North Kaneshie. And he started sharing his vision with me. And I was so surprised about the knowledge, about the ideas that young man had. So on our way back, he said, "Papa, can I drive?" So I gave he was a very good driver. In fact, he was a taxi driver. So I said, "Kofi, you can drive." Then I said, "You know what I want you to do? The ideas that you were sharing with me, when we get to Accra, I want you to take your time and then
write them down.
Write them down, because I would like to pick some of the things you suggested and immediately implement them." We had only passed Awutu when all of a sudden we saw this driver coming from Budubram towards us, and the car was moving from one direction to the other.
Lost control.
And we were like, "What's going on?" So Kofi said, "Papa, can I park off the shoulder so that when he passes,
then we can go?"
Then we can go. So he parked off
the road.
Off the road. Not even one tire was on the road. He completely parked off the road, and we were at the shoulder. The next thing we heard, bang!
He hit you.
And then he moved from his direction to our direction and hit us. And when I finally gained consciousness, Kofi was lying on my lap, so much blood in my dress, and he was gone.
Oh,
yeah,
right there.
His wife was 7.5 months pregnant. So the very day we were burying him, the wife delivered
a baby boy,
a baby girl. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. We've gone through so much.
And then also came the death of your own wife.
Yes. My wife's death, every time I talk about it, is very, very emotional. It happened that it was on Wednesday evening. The whole family was there. The whole family was there. Her sister had returned from Israel. And we were all sitting down. And I told them that I was going to bed. And I got up and went in. And I was asleep when my wife came to wake me up. She said, "Please, can you get up?" I got up and she said, "We should sing this song, You Deserve the Glory." And I was surprised because it was about 5 to 12 in the midnight. And she came to wake me up and said, "Let's sing You Deserve the Glory." So I looked at her. Some way, somehow, I couldn't challenge her. I couldn't say anything. I just began to sing the song. woke up from my sleep and started singing, "You Deserve the Glory." As soon as the song ends, she would say, "Repeat it." Then all of a sudden, she started singing this Esther Smith song, which I didn't know very well. He said, "Onyami benyi, debia ya difufuru." But the places she was always emphasizing, Dako to say, "Mfiapim to say Dakro wonim." And then when she said it about the 5th time, she knelt by the bed. So I thought after all the singing, she was tired, so she was kneeling down to pray. She was a very prayerful woman. She could be on her knees every Thursday night by 9 o'clock. She locked herself up and she would be praying till the next morning. So everybody knew her prayer life. So while she was kneeling there, I noticed that she was sliding. So I said, "What is wrong?" She wasn't saying anything, but she was sliding. So I held her up and I called, and my son came, and the two of us carried her. And in fact, when we lifted her, I noticed she was foaming in one side of the mouth. So we took her and then sent her to Kolebu. As soon as we got there, they pronounced that she was already gone.
That was quite shocking to you.
The biggest shock in my life, because you were sitting there talking to her
and
about
singing.
Yes, about 4 or 5 hours ago. Now she was singing with you.
She had not been sick.
She had not been sick. She's never complained of any disease or any sickness.
But the way she went was quite glorious.
Yes.
She went while praising God, worshiping the Lord and all that.
You know.
But did God not give you any sign, any revelation?
This is the most interesting part of it. It was after she died
that you began to understand.
So many of the people started coming to the house. And then the women said, the Sunday before she died, she meets any woman in any of the WM, she would tell them, "I'm traveling this week. I'm traveling this week." And when the WM president was going out, she was driving and she asked her to come back. And then she sat down with her and said, "Look, I'm traveling. And I want you folks to take good care of Pastor because I'll be back soon." And then the woman said, she started thinking in her head that, you and Pastor have been traveling all
together
this time. You've never told us to
take care of
Pastor.
Exactly.
And the funny thing was that all the time she was telling the women that she was traveling, the thing the women couldn't understand was that not one of them has hair. "Mama,
where are you going?
Where are you going?" Nobody. The women ministry president was sitting there saying that, you always travel. You never say we should help Pastor. Why are you saying this?
Yeah.
You see? And then on Monday night, she called about 3 people and told them that they must come to the house immediately. This was after 9 o'clock at night. I didn't know about it. They should come to the house immediately. If they don't come, they will not see her again. So the question up to today, all of us are asking was, did she know?
Of course, if she had said, she indeed said that if you don't come, you don't see me again.
Yes.
She probably knew. Maybe her spirit got, she may not even be aware. I don't know, but you are the ministers of God. maybe as she was saying it, she wasn't physically aware, but the spirit was talking.
So the day that we were doing the burial, one of the ladies was rolling. In fact, she even got into the tomb. The grave. And she said she wasn't getting out. He said, "Mama, at least promise me that you give me a dream of what you wanted to tell me." And I didn't come.
She didn't go. She didn't go. But then Joy came in the morning. You have a new wife now.
Yes.
And I can see the smiles in your face.
Yes.
You are more than satisfied.
Yes. And yesterday was our 20th anniversary.
20th already?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We were shocked ourselves.
Wow. So how has the journey been with your new wife? Your first wife was for how many years before she passed?
34.
34. So you've done 20 years now, so 54 years in marriage. Now, so the last 20 years, tell me just the highlights of how good it has been.
It's been one of the most exciting times in my life.
Because you're always together.
We are always together.
I see you everywhere together.
Yes. And I say to people...
Never boring.
No.
Always exciting.
No.
Sharing jokes.
Yes.
Laughing together.
Yes.
And if you have to weep, you weep together. So, how many children do you have?
We have 4.
4 strong boys and girls? Now you're men, actually.
2 boys and 2 girls.
So 2 men, 2 women?
Yes.
You have grandchildren?
Yes, we have 4 grandchildren.
Wow.
Yes.
So
also very interesting. 2 boys, 2 girls.
Wow, just like your father. But would you be surprised if God gave you a pension baby now that you're in retirement?
Not when both of us are over 70.
About Sarah, how old was Sarah? How old was Abraham? That's possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Anything is possible with God.
Anything is, and we'll be happy for that if the Lord does that.
Wow. So what are you doing in your retirement now?
I have been involved in so many preaching.
Even now? Even now.
And every Tuesday, I have a teaching session on Facebook.
What time is that?
It's 8 o'clock
p.m.
p.m. I have my Facebook teaching sessions live on Reverend Harry Insedu. And then on Sundays, several of the churches have been inviting me
to go preach.
To go preach.
Don't you miss your youthful days? Because when you were younger, you could jump around and shout and raise your hand and lay hands, people falling and that kind of thing. Now you are an old young man. Yeah. How are you managing this? I'm sure you.
I think it's one of the sometimes it's not easy because I could stand for about 5-6 hours
preaching,
ministering to people, laying hands on the sick, and I loved it.
But now
I can't even.
Do you miss it?
Yes, you miss those times because, for instance, those days I used to stand before a crowd of about 4,000 or 5,000
preaching.
When we organized our gathering of champions at North Kaneshie, we have to fill in front of the church this whole street. Sometimes we have to bring in extra 2,500
chairs,
3,500 chairs, and they will all be filled. You see?
Wow. So let's just before we end this, where do you come from in Ghana?
I'm from Cape Coast.
You are Fanti?
Fanti, yes.
Both father and mother?
Both parents. My father descended from Accra.
Okay.
Akotolante.
So you are Ghana patrilineally?
Yes.
Okay. But because you went the matrilineal way?
Yes.
All right.
Because we stayed all our life
with
in
your
Cape
mother?
Coast.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You had brothers and sisters?
Yes. In fact, most of my brothers and sisters are going to be with the Lord.
They all got born again before they passed?
It's funny, you know, my senior brother was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
My sister was a staunch Calvary Methodist at Adabaka.
Yeah.
And the one that I was after used to be a very strong Salvation Army. But later on, all of them started coming to Assemblies of God.
At North Kaneshie?
Yes, all of them started visiting North Kaneshie. So I would say they were religious, but I cannot say because 2 of them I personally led to the Lord.
All right.
But the rest, like the Seventh-day Adventist, you can't change his mind.
So your father and mother, which denominations did they belong to?
Both my parents were Methodists.
But you started with Aladura?
Aladura. I started, my first church was Aladura. And then I ended up in,
Assemblies of God. Do you remember any of the Bible school mates, for instance?
Yes. Most of them are going to be with the Lord. We have Peter Moa.
In Kumasi?
Yes.
I have met him.
I think only he and myself are the only ones that are alive.
Wow, God has blessed you.
Yes.
All right, so to end it all, there's somebody in this camera watching you right now. That's your camera. I believe he or she is a young minister. Wants to do the things that God used you to do, ready to be used by God.
Okay.
If you could just inspire that person, never to give up no matter the challenges.
I think my challenge to the young pastors is, first of all, commitment to God, and then to be content with God. First of all, there must be the commitment. Second, be content. And third, have a teachable spirit. When you want to stay in the ministry, when you have these three gifts, I know God will take you anywhere you want to go. May the Lord bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daddy.
God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Harry Stein Inseidu. People they don't normally call you Stein. But who gave me the Stein name?
My father. The name that everybody knows.
Pastor Harry.
Pastor Harry has been there. In fact,
right.
Sometimes I go to places, when they mention my full name,
people get surprised. You get surprised.
Even myself, I get surprised. Because I am used to people calling me Pastor Harry so much, so that it's difficult for me to identify or remember the other name.
Yes. All right, that's it. Thank you. My name is Abraham Sari. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Amen.